Oh buddy, Andy here again. Well, how was it for you? How was your Christmas? Did you survive the relatives, the food, the drink and all that type of festivities, etc.? I've always been, or certainly over recent years, become increasingly one of those sort of Scrooge type, bar humbug type characters. But that isn't because of the actual Christmas celebrations as such. I'm not a religious person in any means, so I don't celebrate Christmas in that religious traditional way. But it's always the family side of things and the way that it's become a different type of tradition, hasn't it? But what I despise and what I dislike is that overhyped, just big build up to it. You know, the shops are selling stuff from the 1st of September or something like that, and the Christmas songs come out, and it just becomes overboard. The bombarding of advertising and everything, and everyone's having a go at you, and the TV changes and they make big things about it. It's such a huge thing, and no one ever sort of seems to concentrate on the actual true meaning of it, whether it be the religious aspect of it. Of course, that's a very important part, because, you know, whether you believe or not, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be having that celebration in the first place, unless you go back to pagan times maybe, but that's another argument. But this year, it actually brought it home to me a little bit more. The last 2 years, as my mother said to us yesterday, because what we've done the last 2 years have been a bit strange, and my mother had to say this is the best Christmas that I've had for a few years now, because 2 years ago my father was very ill in hospital over Christmas, and we actually went to see him on Christmas Day. So that makes it strange, because A, he wasn't there to celebrate it with us, which he would have been, and also because he was somewhere else. We had to go and visit him. We haven't had to go, you know what I mean. We went to visit him. That's a really strange thing, and the kids came with it, and as it happened, it was the last time that my children ever saw him alive. And then last year we obviously had a weird Christmas, because my mother was without my father and my father-in-law was without my mother-in-law. So we had both of the surviving parents around last year for Christmas, but my father-in-law was quite ill as well. He had bad back pain, and we didn't know what was going on, and it was very uncomfortable. So it was very strange. But this year everybody said how nice it was to have quite a quiet Christmas. Yes, remember the people as we did that weren't there, and celebrate them in our own way, but actually just get back to that traditional type of thing, and it was all the better for it. My children have even said to us how much they enjoyed it this year. You know, we always tend to try and have a sort of a fairly low-key type of Christmas. We like to be at home, the kids like to be at home, as they always have done since they were born, I think, or certainly since they were young. They're older now, so that old sort of style of things, you know, when the kids are young, it's great. If you haven't had kids, you know, you're missing out in that respect. But when they are young, it is a magical time. It really brings home that whole side of Christmas. Things have quietened down a bit now, I suppose, but they still like those traditions. I think every family had their own traditions. I talk about what we've developed as a family over the years. My wife talks about what used to happen to her, what I used to do, and what my mother and my father-in-law used to do as well, way back. And you sort of incorporate little bits of that, and you make your own little family traditions, and that's the good things about it, whether it be what you eat, whether you drink, how you go about things, when and how you open your presents, all of those little things. And I'm sure you can think of things that you do in your own family, and I like to think that you do, because they're the things that you hand down to your own children, or to people that you know, maybe other relatives who think, oh, that's a good idea, we'll start doing that. And these things sort of perpetuate the whole family thing, and it's like, you know, you bring the families together, but then those things mesh together and they carry on with your kids through time, and that's one of the good things. I think it sort of carries all those traditions on and meshes them together, as I said. But another aspect that I mentioned yesterday, because yesterday here in the UK was Boxing Day. I know it's celebrated in different ways elsewhere, but that's, well, it's become a tradition now. When all the sales start, and some places start opening their doors at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I happened to tweet something yesterday saying something along the lines, I am not shopping today, I refuse to go out shopping today. And because everybody does, all the shops then feel that they have to be open. It's become something that's become more and more prevalent over the years, and it's become ridiculous. We have all that build up to Christmas and all that consumerism going on, and then what do? We have one day, and then the following day so many people are straight back into it again. And you hear of people sort of queuing up from 2:30 AM on Boxing Day, and you think, what on earth is going on? I know they're not all sort of English people know, apparently they get sort of foreign tourists come in now to go to the sales because of the way that things are reduced. Yes, things are reduced, but how are you spending that money? You probably haven't got any money left after Christmas anyway, because you've been badgered into buying all these different goods and things that you don't eat, things that you don't drink, etc. That probably sitting around now and thinking, we better have that. Oh yeah, well auntie so-and-so drinks that, or so-and-so has that. We better have some bread sauce or cranberry or whatever it might be, and you end up not actually eating them. There's all that side of things in these times of economic problems, and that a lot of people are cutting back as we have, but other people don't. So how much money have people actually got to spend at this time of year? They go out, probably put it on their credit cards, that type of thing. It's a false economy, people. But also the other point is that it starts to interrupt other people's lives. Of course people have to work over Christmas. You know, the emergency services, hospitals, you know, all those type of people, armed forces abroad, etc. There are always a certain amount of people who have to work, and I'm very grateful that they do what they do on Christmas Day and every other day of the year as well. But surely we should try to be scaling that down a little bit, so that more and more people can actually just have a couple of days out of that hectic life, especially the way things are at the moment, just to sit back, reflect, and actually spend some time with their family. It's the one time that people do get together. Yes, I know that that can cause problems and quite often does as well, but in other ways I'm sure by the families getting together, it actually helps them. It actually gets them together for a while, forces them together, because sometimes that works. As I say, it doesn't always, but a lot of times it can work. You start talking to people. It's happened to me over the past couple of years because of the funerals and things that have gone on within the family. I've actually got closer to people in my family that I didn't really have a great deal of time for over the years, you know, previous years. And you think back and you think, well, that was a bit of a wasted opportunity. Those nasty times, if you want to put it that way, not so good times, have actually brought people together, and because of that it's made them reflect on things maybe, and has brought them closer together in lots of different ways. And so by having all those sales, etc., it just tends to ruin that. And actually I got a reply from that tweet from a local shop who said exactly the same thing. Well done, Andy, you know, we feel exactly the same way, that shops have been sort of badgered into being open. They feel that they need to be open, and a lot of people just get that sort of fatigue. They just want to relax, but they feel they need to go out there because if the sales are on now, today's the day, or yesterday was the day when you need to be out there to get in there to get those bargains, because if you leave it for a further day they won't be there anymore. So consumerism just doesn't ever stop. Apparently even Christmas Day is one of the biggest days for internet shopping, especially, I was hearing on the radio today, for e-books. All those people who've got, you know, e-readers, Kindles, iPads or whatever, downloading millions and millions of books on that Christmas Day. I actually, yes, I did check my phone a couple of times, but I didn't really go on the internet at all. I tried to avoid that, but maybe that's because I was in a situation where I didn't want to, because I had those people around me that I wanted to be around, and I hope that you did too. I actually tweeted that last night. Had a good Christmas, and it's good to get back into that thing and reinforce that whole thing again. Make you grateful for what you have got, and what other people don't have. Meeting a friend yesterday who was alone at Christmas, you know, and you think, oh, you know, it makes you reflect a bit on how lucky I am, maybe you are as well, to have your own family and to have them around you at this particular time of year. So I hope that you had that as well. That's a reflection on that. As I said, maybe it's got me back to liking Christmas a bit more than I did before. Maybe I had reasons to be a bit more bar humbug. Maybe next year I'll be a little bit different, but yeah, don't bank on it. Anyway, I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.